Carolina Panthers have not picked a quarterback, Sam. Man, we've discussed this a ton. It's Ike Ekwonu, the first tackle off the board, the mauler from NC State. And mauler might not even be fair because the dude moves extremely well. When we talk about great run blocking, Ike's the guy. He's got a few more question marks as far as pass pro goes, but you want to talk Ekwonu or you want to talk about the quarterback situation? Because this is still the biggest story in Carolina.
Well, it's connected, right? And to be fair, the Panthers have been kind of laying the groundwork here for a couple of days, talking about how Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is this team going to be. And Sam Darnold is still a good quarterback, says owner David Tepper. Now, look, Sam Darnold doesn't even believe that anymore, right? Look, at this point...
Oh, you're so mean to Sam sometimes.
Come on. Look, we did...
Same name hate.
We did the Sam Darnold thing last year, right? We had the shot at it. It was like, look, it was all the Jets. It was the Jets' fault. They ruined him. They had terrible situation around him. Sam had no choice but to be bad in New York. You get him in Carolina, you give him a new offense, it's gonna be great. We're gonna see the new Sam Darnold. And for 3 weeks we did, and then it all fell apart, and we fired Joe Brady because obviously it was his fault. And it's just not gonna happen, right? Sam Darnold is not a good NFL quarterback. And now the Panthers, they took... So on the one hand, they did the smart thing in that reaching for a QB at 6 would have been a massive reach. Like, these guys are not worth 6 overall. On the other hand, who's your quarterback? Because it can't be Sam Darnold. It really can't. I don't believe that anyone in that building believes that Sam Darnold could start week 1 for this team.
No, but I think they're looking at, you make a move for Jimmy Garoppolo at some point.
With what picks?
If Baker Mayfield gets released, all of those guys should be upgrades.
Yes.
Right? Next year's picks. It'll be next year's picks if they have to go get Jimmy Garoppolo, or if Baker gets released, or you throw a pick at the Browns before he gets released, whatever. But we've talked a lot about the Panthers and the offensive line and the issues that they have. We could circle back to quarterback because I know it's huge. But Ike does upgrade this team. I know some people thought he might be a guard. The big boss, Chris, thinks he might be more of a guard. But man, the run game still does matter because the running back does depend on your run blocking. And Ekwonu, watching his film, as fun as it gets in this class, because he gets to the second level and just tosses linebackers aside. A lot like Mekhi Becton did a couple of years ago.
Except without the 370 pounds of weight behind him. Like, he's a much smaller than Mekhi Becton guy.
And nimble, 90, look, say what you want about the 40, but when you're an offensive lineman and you run 4.9 and all that stuff, it usually means you're a pretty good athlete. And that shows up on film with Ekwonu. So he can zone block, he can gap run block, he can do it all. He does have some issues in pass protection. He was a much better run blocker than pass protector, but the Panthers had a massive need on the offensive line and this should upgrade them.
Yeah, they did. It's the smart thing to do if you have a plan to get quarterback. And look, maybe David Tepper's right. Maybe this is a longer term project. The only question is, who's there, who's steering the ship here, right? Obviously, David Tepper is there for the long term. Dude's the richest owner in the NFL. That guy's not going anywhere. He's got the team for a while. Is the GM going to be there? Is the head coach going to be there? Does he even care, right? Does David Tepper give a crap who's steering this ship as long as he's moving in the right direction and the franchise overall is getting better? Who knows?
But I'm saying through that lens, right? Let's forget, because we've analyzed this a lot through the lens of Matt Rule and last opportunity, and the Panthers don't have a pick till round 4. But through the long-term lens of get the offensive line first before you go get the quarterback. If Ekwonu steps in at left tackle, they just brought in Bradley Bozeman. He'll compete at center. Austin Corbett comes in this offseason. Taylor Moton's already good. 4/5 of your offensive line might be good, whereas last year it was 1/5 of your offensive line. That's a big difference.
It is.
And that at least lays the groundwork. They've got pretty good playmakers. If you do add a Garoppolo to the mix, or you do add maybe a rejuvenated Baker Mayfield, it's not horrendous, even though right now we don't see the full plan.
And the other thing is, look, we always act like the head coach and the GM are the guys that make these decisions. But draft day, more than any, the owner is the dude signing off.
Oh, for sure.
That guy is saying, this is where we need to go with this pick. And if David Tepper doesn't want the quarterback, they're not taking the quarterback. And Matt Rule and the regime in charge of day-to-day operations might just have to deal with that and do the best they can for next season. And they, the interests of that entire group might not be aligned. You know what I mean? Like, if David Tepper is a good owner, he's probably not allowing this team to be run this year to save the jobs of the people who would be making those decisions, right? So he's potentially involved in this and saying, look, we grabbed the offensive lineman because the offensive line torpedoed this offense last year. Fix that, and we'll deal with the rest down the line.
Just for perspective here with Ekwonu, 91 run blocking grade in 2020, 93.8 last year, as elite as it gets. But we're also in 2020, he had a 55 pass blocking grade. That's below average even for college. Last year, he improved to 78. It's kind of like Mike McGlinchey a couple years ago came out with kind of these splits and the run blocking translated, but he's still not the best pass protector. So just set proper expectations. You're getting an excellent run blocker, developmental pass blocker, and then as far as the overall plan for the Panthers, still more to see. You got to figure out quarterback, I think, but at least the offensive line's moving in the right direction.
And by the way, if you do want to convince yourself that Sam Darnold has just been unlucky every year of his career.
We've heard some of that too. They were 3-0 and McCaffrey got hurt.
Exactly. McCaffrey got hurt. The offensive line was still bad. We're answering that, right? We're getting McCaffrey back in theory. The offensive line has gone from 1/5 good to 4/5 good on paper. We've removed the excuses now, right? We've got a good receiving core. We now have a good offensive line. We've got Christian McCaffrey back. If he can't succeed now, it's not going to happen.
What does this say? This is only one team, but probably the most desperate quarterback team.
Yes.
Without a pick until round 4, did not take a quarterback.
It says exactly what every other move this offseason has said about this quarterback class. Nobody likes it.
All right, Panthers getting Ike Ekwonu. Offensive line's getting better. We'll figure out what they're doing at quarterback.